Hello, everyone, and welcome to ONTV's primary election 2020 results coverage. I'm Stacey Calloway, and I'm joined by George Sennett.
Hi there, Stacey. How are you?
I'm doing very well. George
great.
and I we're going to keep doing this every election, right?
Well, I hope so.
Absolutely. Well, tonight we're going to check in with the election results as they were reported live by the county.
That's right, Stacey. Not only that, but we're going to have some live interviews today with some of our local officials, which that should be a lot of fun.
It should be. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the primary election was held as scheduled. Although polling locations across the state were open for voters, many residents decided to vote by absentee ballot. And earlier in the week, Orion Township's clerk, Penny Schultz, dropped by the studio just to talk about the increase in absentee voting and what steps this township has taken to make sure the election runs smoothly. Let's take a look.
So all of the ballots that are sent back absentee are registered when they come in as being received. We will then put them in order by precinct and by ballot number, and we will store them in a secure location in the clerk's office. And last time when we did this, we probably had 10 trays of ballots that were prepared and ready for the presidential primary absent voter counting board. This year we're going to have about 25 trays that will be prepared to go to the absent voter counting board on election day. There's a group of people who come in, they're trained election inspectors, and they represent both major political parties. They come into the fire station is where they're going to be this year. The board authorized moving it to that secure location to count those ballots. And they're coming in at 7 a.m. and they'll be ready to get started by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, so they're counted throughout the day.
They are counted throughout the day. And what makes it so interesting is that there's always a checks and balance going on so that when they're done with that group of ballots, we'll have more ballots that we deliver to them that have come in and been processed.
That's great. Now, because of the increase, do you anticipate any sort of a delay on election day?
I don't. And the reason being is that I have a election commission board that looks at what we're doing throughout the township to prepare for major elections. And that is Brian Burney and Mike Flood. And they are the commissioners on that board. And they made a recommendation to the township board that I purchase a high-speed tabulator, which allows us to tabulate those ballots very efficiently. We were preparing for Proposal 18.3, where there was no reason that a voter needed to specify to get an absent voter ballot, and we knew that we would see an uptick in what people wanted. So we prepared in advance and we're ready. So I don't believe that we'll see a delay. I'm hopeful to have all of those processed and counted and the results into the county by 9 o'clock on election night.
So do you want to take this opportunity to reassure voters that whether they vote absentee or they come to the precincts, that the elections will be safe and secure?
Absolutely. So what we have done, just initially, just what we're all used to. When you go to the grocery store, someone is waiting on you behind a sneeze shield. And so we have 3-foot by 3-foot sections of sneeze shield for each of our processing tables. So when the voter comes into the voting precinct, we're practicing the social distancing, but the physical distancing is really what I like to call it, because we want to be physically distanced at those 6 feet. And we're placing stickers on the ground that tell people where they can go in those areas to maintain that physical distance. The other thing we're doing is all of our workers will be wearing masks. And there's gloves if people want to wear gloves when they're processing things, but we also have hand sanitizers for our workers. The thing we have to be careful about is if people saturate their hands in hand sanitizer and then they touch a ballot, the residue from that can jam the system up and get into the tabulating system, and we want to be very careful that we're not doing it. So what we're asking voters to do is to manage yourself as you're coming into the precinct. Plan to wear a mask, plan to wait in a distance that's 6 feet away from the next voter. Also plan to wash your hands when you leave the precinct or use some hand sanitizer, much like what you would do when you go out into the world in your everyday business.
Great.
Michigan residents were mailed absentee voter ballot applications for the primary and general election due to the COVID-19 pandemic. If you did not receive one, or if you lost your application and you're interested in getting an absentee ballot for the November general election, visit oriontownship.org and navigate to the Township Clerk's page under the Department tab.
You know, it's interesting you talk about absentee ballots. I understand this time Penny was, the Let was talking to us a couple days ago, and basically she said that The last election, they had about 3,000 of these absentee ballots. And this current election, they're expecting about 8,000. So it's more than doubled.
Absolutely.
And basically because of the virus thing that's been going around.
And I actually voted absentee ballot today, but I see you have your sticker.
I got my sticker,
Okay.
but I did also voted absentee, but I worked the polls today.
Okay, so that's
And,
the trick.
So based on the fact that we had a lot of absentee ballots, we didn't have a lot of the traffic that we would normally get going through the various voting places. So anyway, we ended up with at the poll that I worked, we had about 120 by 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So that's kind of a slow day, but I think a lot of it was made up with the absentee ballots.
Absolutely, I think so too. I think that the one good thing for me was not having to wake up early to get in the lines, but I do miss getting the sticker. I do miss that.
Well,
so
talk
maybe,
about getting up early. I had to get up at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock this
Oh,
morning
wow.
to get there by 6.
Definitely.
So you work the polls. There's pluses and minuses by doing that.
And then, of course, they fed you guys well too, right?
Oh no, you have to bring your own.
Oh, of course, with the pandemic. Talk to me about like.
Oh, we did
what
have
were
a
some of the-
precinct captain that brought some Oreo cookies, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is not the last time we're going to hear from Penny Schultz tonight. Our good friend Ian Locke is standing by and ready to talk to Penny right now to talk about how the things going tonight so far.
Okay. So take it away, Ian.
All right, guys. Thank you guys from the studio for tossing over here. We're in the ONTV podcast studio to bring these interviews tonight. Usually we're in person with our interviewees for election night, but tonight we're going to be obviously technologically isolating ourselves. And so we have on the line Penny Schultz, clerk of Orion Township. And thank you, Penny, for taking the time to sit in with us tonight.
It's great to meet with everyone tonight, Ian. I appreciate you giving us a call so we could be a part of this.
Absolutely. Now, this isn't your average primary. The one thing we like to talk about all the time is during the primaries or any election that is your volunteers and the sheer effort that you have to put together to get these elections off the ground. Can you share with us the work that your volunteers have put in?
Yes, we're pretty excited about getting ready for elections. It's like having an all-day event at 16 different locations for 29,000 people all at the same time. So think about that when you're planning a wedding or a graduation open house. You're planning for one location, but we want to get ready at all these different precincts and locations for our voters. And the way that we're able to do that is through the assistance of every single department at Township Hall. Our board of trustees have been phenomenal, and we are working with trained election inspectors, and there's probably close to 200 of those who are divided up amongst those 16 precincts. And our churches and schools, our police department, our fire department, everyone is engaged in this process to make sure that when it's 7 o'clock in the morning on election day, every single precinct is ready for our voters.
So many moving parts, so many bodies in motion, and technology involved these days, ready for security and the scanning and the results. It's great. If you haven't looked at OakGov yet at the website, the results are coming in. So can you share with us some of the technology that you're using to make sure that this is secure and getting that information out? Could you just share a little bit with the viewers?
That's a great question, Ian, and everybody wonders about that because the media will portray this as in the light that perhaps it's not secure. But I can guarantee you, as the clerk for Orion Township, who is working very closely with Oakland County Elections and the Bureau of Elections, every safety protocol is followed. One of the first and most important things is that the tabulation equipment is never tied to the internet. It's transmitted to Oakland County as soon as a precinct closes. those results transmit immediately through modem transmission. It's the same kind of cellular transmission that we use every day for our phones. So it's not connected to the internet. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that we can be assured that the elections are transmitting automatically. So there's no time for anyone to make any changes. As soon as you close your precinct on election night, the Oakland County, as you spoke of earlier, starting to populate those precincts, gets that information. Another way that we're very careful with what we are doing is we have security passcodes that are encrypted at each of our precincts for our electronic poll books. So the data that we are sending out to our precincts that contains all of the voter records so that we have up-to-date information is encrypted with the passcodes. And it's so safe for our voters, but also it's accessible at our precincts by our chairman. Another way that we're making sure that things are kept safe is we are locking things up. We lock all of our equipment up. We make sure that no one else has access to that. We use flash drives that are security password protected through Oakland County. And we're working closely with those agencies that I mentioned to ensure that all of the information is protected.
Yeah, it's amazing the technology we have these days, and you have at your fingertips now for the elections. Gone are the hanging Chad nightmares, poking a hole through a piece of paper, and now we have secure transmissions instantly. It's amazing the turnouts are right here on the OakGov site. It's really fun to see it update, and you see democracy in action, people voting, and the results. Something along those lines is I know you had quite a bit of absentee ballots coming in for this primary. Can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, that's so exciting. Proposal 18.3 was approved by the voters in 2018, and that was no reason absentee. You didn't have to request a ballot with a reason. It was any voter could request that by way of application. So the township got prepared, and the election commissioners, Brian Burney and Mike Flood, they are Board of Trustee members as well, they made a recommendation that we purchase this high-speed tabulator because we anticipated an increase in the number of people that would vote absentee. So as soon as Proposal 18 passed, 18.3, we knew we had to get prepared for our voters. And being a absent voter in Orion Township is basically seamless. It's the same type of process that you have when you go to the precinct. You request a ballot by way of filling out an application as an absent voter, and you do the same thing when you go to the precinct walk-in. You request your ballot by filling out an application. So if a voter wants a ballot, they must request it. We don't automatically send ballots to anyone, even though you're on the permanent absent voter list.
Mm-hmm.
But we started getting prepared for this back before the presidential primary election, and we have now close to 9,000 voters on the permanent absent voter list.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's pretty remarkable. More came in as a request. So as a result of all of these efforts to notify the public that, yes, you could request an absent voter ballot through the application process, we issued for just this election over 9,200 absent voter ballots. And in the presidential primary, we had about 4,800.
Wow.
So we're seeing a drastic increase.
Yeah, that really is amazing, those numbers. And do you anticipate for the general to go up quickly?
Sure. I think it'll go up. People are comfortable with the process, and a lot of people choose to vote their ballot at home. They want to do some research, but also people love going to the precincts on election day. So
I do.
believe that what we see in Orion, I think will be about a 50-50 split.
Okay.
We'll see those that want to go to the precinct and those that want to vote absentee. So I think, it's going to pace maybe a little bit, I think a little bit of an uptick at the November, but we're going to prepare for it. We do need to get some more workers here in the office because our
Absolutely.
phone is ringing off the hook and people don't realize, but we get ready for one election right after the next,
Mm.
right after the last one. So we're already preparing for the next election.
Well,
And we will be mailing out information and notifying people, wrapping this one up. And come September, October, we're rolling right into that November
yeah,
election.
which is great to hear. The machine's always going, the preparation's always there, and
Yeah.
the outreach is always ongoing. And if people want to, last question real quick because we're up against the clock. If somebody wanted to volunteer and help out for elections, where can they go? Just to the township website?
They can go to the township website, but we would like to meet them. Come on in, we'll give you information. Come to the clerk's office. They're not volunteers, they are paid positions. We can't do volunteer work when you're working an election. You do have to pay your inspectors. And if they call me or they send an email at pschultz, SHULTS, at oriontownship.org, or just stop by and see us. We have applications available, and we are constantly recruiting. I even recruit in the grocery store. If I go to a garage sale and I see somebody and they're interested in the process, I always encourage people to get involved. We are so
Outstanding.
thankful for the diversity in our community, and it's awesome when everybody engages.
Well, that's great. Great information. If you're interested, you heard where to find where you can sign up and meet everybody to try to be a part of these elections and do your part to help your community. And Penny Schultz, clerk of Orion Township, thank you so much for. I know this is a super busy day, and I can't say thank you enough to have you on and taking that time to talk with us.
It's always great to talk with you, Ian. You have a wonderful night.
You too, Penny. Thank you so much. George Stacy, take it away. Back to the studio.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Great interview there, Ian and Penny. Thank you so much for your input. That's great. If you need more information about the upcoming general election, you can find more information at the oriontownship.org.
Okay. And today, Orion residents had two township ballot proposals to vote on, one of which was the police operating millage. In the latest episode of the ONTV show, The Line of Duty, Orion Township Supervisor Chris Burnett interviewed Lieutenant Dan Toth about his millage. Let's take a little clip and a look at the clip from that particular interview.
We'll just get this out there. So we're also on the police side of things asking for a slight increase. We're looking for a 3.5 millage rate. Correct, Dan?
Yes, and that was one question that we received a couple times. It looks like we're asking for 3.5 mils. No, the voters authorized a 3 mil in 2012. And what we're asking for is just a half mil in 2020. So we have not needed to ask for any other millage increases over the last, 8-9 years now. But because we've been running a deficit, and we knew in 2012, when I did a similar presentation, as I think some of the folks that are seeing on their screen now, we knew that a 3 mil would be so tight because of the growth that we were seeing in 2012 and definitely for the last 8 years.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk right now about growth. Let's talk about growth and then kind of how many police officers should we have for a community our size?
Well, the Department of Justice recommends as a general guideline 1 police officer per 1,000 residents. In a city, a large urban city, that would increase, okay? But in a setting like Orion Township, it's recommended 1 police officer per 1,000 residents. We are at 40,000 residents, and we'll see the results of the census here, but we're confident, and with the growth that is happening right now and in the next 3 years, we know where this is going. But we currently have 33 certified deputies currently, right now. So we've seen a 37% increase in calls for service in the last decade. And when we look back at 20 years worth of data, it's always consistent. We can count on 4 to 6% increase in calls for police services. It's been very consistent. It's been between 4 and 6%. And given the new subdivisions that are going in. This was a hard decision to ask taxpayers for more money. It's hard for us. I know, Chris, it's hard for you. We struggle with that, but this just wasn't our opinion. When we sat down with the budget, and we do a 3-year out budget. So when we sat down, the numbers just would not work, and we've been putting it off for a couple of years now, but we just have to do this now. But it is very marginal. That $500,000, like you said, it's about $60 on an average size home. It comes out to be about 17 cents a day, or about $120 for your average priced home.
The one thing we talked about with fire too, and I'll give you an opportunity here, I promise, is we also look at what the neighbors are charging their residents. So just chime in on any of that stuff there.
And that's very important, but there's a slide in the PowerPoint where there's peer comparables.
Yeah.
And typically the cost for police services in Orion Township is half or a third than many of our surrounding communities' police services budgets. And this is a totally dedicated to police service. It's dedicated to operational costs for salaries and the basic equipment. There is no other thrills involved with this. We don't have any special projects or anything else. This is to maintain the dedicated police services fund for the next 6 years, and I think that slide right there shows where we're at. Like I said, it's half of some and a third of some in our comparable townships.
Yeah, and that's all audited data. That's
Right.
not fuzzy math. We do take it really serious when we're asking our residents for their hard-earned money.
That was certainly a lot of information there. And if you would like to watch the episode in its entirety, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, and you can visit youtube.com and search for Orion Neighborhood Television. So a lot of in-depth
A
information.
lot of good
there.
information, you're right.
Absolutely.
Penny brought up some great information in her interview. She talked, the thing that kind of interested me is the fact that we've got this new high-speed reader where we can take 9,000 ballots and run them through very quickly and almost get the results to the county almost immediately,
Right.
which is really fantastic.
And she also mentioned that she needs more help, so that's employing people as well. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's it's kind of a fun thing to do.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got another interview just about ready to go. We have Ian is going to be talking to our township supervisor, Chris Barnett, on the line. And we'd like to get an update from Chris.
All right, back here in the podcast studio, Ian Locke here, doing the evening interviews with everybody. Usually we're out in the field interviewing our dignitaries and elected officials on primary and general election night, but due to COVID, we're doing the technology spread, as they say, social distancing here because of COVID. And on the phone with us tonight is Township Supervisor Chris Barnett. Township Supervisor Barnett, thank you for joining us here on our live program.
Hey, I'm happy to join you. How are you, Ian? Thanks for having me on your show.
Hey, we're doing great. We're live here on ONTV and on Facebook, and we're just happy to be back at it here, after all the shutdowns and all the hiccups we've had over the last couple months. So share with us some things that's happening with you today on, primary is always election for those who are running for office. Share a little of what your day's been like.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different experience because I'm running unopposed this year, which is nice. Actually, I last 4 years ago I did the same, but it's still important. It's great to see lots of candidates running for all the different positions, and I think it's weird. Even though I'm running unopposed, I have this nervous feeling as I'm kind of sitting here at my computer, refreshing, watching the results come in, and rooting for good friends and not only in Orion, but in neighboring communities and people that are, I think are really passionate about the positions they seek. So election night has always been a fun night for me. Even when I was a kid, even before I even was an elected official, I always was just totally enthused and intrigued and excited by the process. So
Yeah.
so that's where I am at tonight, sitting here refreshing as fast as my finger can refresh, and we're seeing the results come in. It looks like there are preliminary results, but nothing final, and it actually still showing 0 of our precincts being totally completed. So
Okay. I know we had some millages coming up, the police and fire, and that's kind of this section we were talking about on the show. Do you have any updates? I don't have a computer refresh in
yeah,
front of me.
so it looks like those are both roughly 2-to-1, trending 2-to-1 in favor of support. Yes, it looks like those will, even though the results are super preliminary, I would be pretty comfortable saying those are both going to pass.
Okay.
So
yeah.
we're grateful for the resident support. Both were slight increases. Police, we haven't had an increase in more than a decade, and fire, since over the last 6 years, we have been moving our fire department from, we were completely a volunteer paid on call department to a fully staffed, 21st century fire department where we're not going to rely on outside providers, which is what we've done, over the years. So that's good news. It's good to see that the residents are supporting those things, and the message got out. So that's always good to see, on election night.
Absolutely. You've been, I know this is an understatement, but you've been a busy guy over the last several months. Give us, if people are just tuning in, not knowing really what you do day to day, running around during COVID. I mean, it's been crazy. You've been everywhere. Just share some of the services that are still going on. Assistance to those who are in need are still happening.
Yeah.
Can you share
Yeah.
any of that?
Absolutely. So the last few months have been the most unique and probably busiest in my entire career, bar none. Even though we were closed for a while, and then we had about a third of our staff furloughed for a while, we were always open and serving our residents. So we had all kinds of things going on. We convened what we call the COVID response team, which included all kinds of leaders from around the community and different groups, to make sure that all of our residents were being served. And we kind of put a high focus on those that were in need and seniors that were homebound to make sure that we were checking on them. We opened up a food bank in our community center. And then we just really just kind of loved on people, cared for the community. It was really an amazing humanitarian experience to see just neighbors looking out for neighbors. And that's one of the things that our community is so good at. When there's an issue, whether it's a family in need or our whole community, people really step up here. So that's been big. That's been one of the things that's been taking most of my time. And then we kind of rolled right into election season.
Yeah.
And it's unique. Townships. There's 1,240 across the state of Michigan. And if I could change anything, I think it would be the way we do our elections. We follow the presidential cycle,
Yep.
all 1,240, and all 7 members of our township board in every township across the state of Michigan are up at the same time. There's no overlap.
Yeah.
So, you could see in some communities they have real hot button issues, and you see an entire board flip. And so there's not really an opportunity for kind of transition and things like that. So we're lucky where we don't have anything super controversial. I mean, it's always difficult when we're asking people to pay taxes, but the police and fire millages were things that people were already paying. And I think we did a good job. It seems like we did a good job explaining to the residents. Our board 7-0 unanimously supported both of those proposals, and it seemed like we did a good job.
Getting the word out.
Message out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you for taking just a couple minutes out of your busy evening to step in with the live coverage here at ONTV. As always, we see you around the studio all the time, and I'm sure as things loosen up, we hope they loosen up even more, that we'll get some more bodies in here and have some fun here at the ONTV studios.
We're so grateful for the work you guys do there. Your team's amazing, Ian. Top to bottom, you guys are responsive. You're at all our community events. We have the best public access channel. It doesn't even act like a public access channel because you guys are so professional. So we're grateful for the partnership, and I look forward to continue working with you for the next 4 years.
Absolutely, Chris. Thanks for the kind words, and have a good evening. And of course, we'll see you down the line. And we're going to send it back to the studio. Take it away, guys.
All right, thank you very much. I sure like those comments from Chris regarding ONTV.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that was great.
Very nice.
Anyway, we have more information on the township. Actually, you can get from the township website at oriontownship.org. They also have an active presence of Facebook. Ballot proposals are also important, and Chris talked about the ballot proposals. And this is one of, and there's another ballot proposal that we are actually voting on this time, and it's a fire and emergency medical services operating millage. And let's take a look at another video. This one featuring our township fire chief, Robert Duke.
So first of all, our residents should know, and we're here to hopefully answer questions that they may have. Our fire department is fully funded by a millage, correct?
Correct, it is.
So our millage has expired.
Yes.
And there were two millages. There was a capital improvement millage and a operating millage. What was the total of those two?
Total was 2.48 mils total
Okay.
for those.
And so now we're in 2020. We're asking for talk about a little bit what you're asking for, and then I'm going to let you dive into some of the images here we have prepared.
Okay. So we're asking or recommending to the board was recommended and to the voters for a millage of 3.0 mils.
Let's take a look at some of these images you prepared for us today. So talk just a little bit about the community and since you've been here, what you've learned. And
Sure. So basically, the number of residents that we're seeing right now is about almost 39,000 residents here, and we'll obviously have a better definitive answer with the census. We have 13,867 homes and apartments, 911 commercial buildings throughout the community, and last year in 2019, we responded to 3,141 calls for service. All right, so over the last 10 years, as you can see from our pictograph, we've seen a 124% increase in calls for service over the last 10 years. In 2010, we had 1,600, and now we're predicting or looking at 3,600 calls for 2020.
What do our residents see that's different in other communities around us?
Well, as you can see, our surrounding communities, they provide advanced life support transport. We just started in beginning of 2019 providing basic life support, so we can transport minor incidents such as a sprained knee, slip and fall, stuff like that. So we're not able to provide the advanced life support or paramedic services that our surrounding communities do. As you can see, it's important because we are in the center of the other communities that we mutually respond with. They are all advanced life support. So that is what our goal is to become in the first quarter of 2021 is advanced life support and provide that better service to the residents.
Okay, so that is important. That's important for people to understand that the proposal is asking for a slight increase, but the level of service is continuing to evolve as we've planned for the last several years.
Right, and so what you can see also is basically we're recommending in the millage is improving our response times and really, as you mentioned, enhancing our emergency services to the community. We're going to hopefully provide an additional ambulance to the community. Currently we have 3. We're going to provide, as we already talked about, advanced life support or that paramedic rolling emergency center where we can provide more advanced cardiac monitoring, diagnosing myocardial infarctions or heart attacks, stroke, identification, providing those emergent medications that we might need to help intervene, hiring additional personnel to fully staff all 4 fire stations 24/7, providing, as I said, that all-hazard fire response, and then replacing emergency equipment and apparatus to maintain our reliability and good service to the community. So as you mentioned, our comparables basically, as you can see from our pictograph, we have one of the higher populations at this time when we looked at it, almost 39,000 residents. We provide comparatively, we have more fire stations. Our increase in calls for service are more, only second to Rochester Hills. So we are providing more calls for service, and we really are out there all the time providing that dedicated service to the residents. So when you look at our comparables, again, that's who we always base our benchmarks on. You can see from our surrounding communities, we will still be the lowest millage rate if successful on the August 4th ballot. I know speaking with Chief in Oxford, they're asking for an additional millage over their 3.5 mils now. So we're still going to be one of the lowest millage, providing enhanced service to our community and residents, which is truly beneficial.
Right, and so what we're saying, so the dollars and cents of it, if you're out there saying, okay, I support fire, but I want to know how much this is actually going to cost me, and then 3 mils is the easy way to break that down is the average
average value of a house in Orion is just over $200,000. So the taxable value is half that. So for every mill, it makes the math really easy for our purposes. So for a house that's an average house, it's worth around $200,000. Their taxable value is $100,000. So every mill is $100. So 3 mills would be about $300.
Correct.
For the year for fire service. It's about between a $50 and $60 increase for the average resident from what they paid, what they've been paying, essentially.
Right.
The full episode of Line of Duty is available for on-demand viewing on our YouTube channel. Visit youtube.com and search for Orion Neighborhood Television programs to watch that or any of the many programs that we offer. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see some of the results. So we're going to check in on that. We have results steadily coming in, so we'll start getting that done.
Great. Let's do it. We're hearing that the results are coming in pretty quick. You know, this automated equipment that we have is really working well, from what I understand.
All right, this may be the new thing.
Yeah. Well, here's the first one. We're looking at U.S. Senator. We're looking at Gary Peters versus John James. And that's going to be quite a race. I know there's been a lot of money being spent on advertising for this race. And right now, at least in our county, this is Oakland County, Gary Peters has a pretty sizable lead, but it's not insurmountable, let's put it that way.
Okay, so 78,763 for Gary Peters, and that's precincts reporting 74. The next one would be John James, and his votes, it looks like he's garnered 63,676.
So Gary Peters is leading, at least in Oakland County at this point.
And just to give a few facts about that, you know, he serves a 6-year term, and we're going to go on to the next district.
Right.
Okay.
This is probably one of the more interesting races, I think. Okay. We got the 8th district, and we have Alyssa Slotkin, who's the incumbent. However, we have 4 Republicans going against her, or going up for the opportunity to go up against Alyssa.
That's right. Mike
so we
Detmer,
got Mike Detmer and a whole bunch of people.
Alan T. Hoover, Paul Jung, Christina Like, and if you want to give some of the votes there, the numbers.
Well, we got Mike Detmer. It looks like he's in the lead at the. No, I'm sorry. Paul Jung is in the lead at 7,500 votes so far. We got a pretty close for second here. Mike Detmer has got 5,400, roughly 5,400, and we got Christine Likey for 5,300. So that's looks like Paul is doing pretty well in that race.
And once again, that's the representative in Congress 8th District. Alyssa Slotkin has 11,245. When it also talks about the unassigned write-ins, so about 11,272 total. And so just to give a few more facts about that, that's serving a 2-year term. As you mentioned, Alyssa Slotkin is the incumbent, and she assumed office in January 2019.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Maybe I shouldn't say that on air.
That's okay. You're
so
welcome
now, so the next one is our local representative for the 46th district. And that's John Riley, who's the incumbent, versus Jody LaMacchia. And let's take a look at the numbers there. Of course, what we're looking at is the Republicans and Democrats, and basically they didn't have anybody running against them, so they're unopposed. But it looks like John Riley has about 9,000 votes at this point, who is the Republican, and we got Jody with about 4,600 right now. So it looks like John Riley's doing pretty well. But again, this is just giving them a chance to run against each other. So they really are unopposed in their in the party system right now.
Okay. And that's the county executive term ending December 31st, 2020. And just to give a few facts about that, that they do serve a 2-year term. And John Riley is the incumbent. He assumed office in 2017.
Right. How are we doing on the phone interview? Okay, well, we'll go along with a few more results then.
Okay.
Another interesting race, very interesting race, is we currently have David Coulter, who is our current county executive, and he's being opposed by someone in his own party, Andy Meisner. And on the Republican side, there are two people vying for that position. We got John Riley, another John Riley, and Jeffrey Nutt. So let's see how those numbers look today.
Okay. And
So you have to start with Democrats first and then just scroll down to Republicans.
Okay, on the Democratic side, Coulter has 45,000, and Andy Meisner has 40,000. So that's a pretty close race right there. That's going to be an interesting race.
right, and right now it's also showing that the precincts reporting are 106 out of 506. So that's, like you said, it's neck and neck here.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty close. Now, is this? I believe these results are for the remainder of the term. Is that correct?
The one on the right is for the partial term, so yeah, it'll be until December.
Okay, so the one that you see on the right-hand side is the one that's for the remaining term.
Right, ending December 31st, 2020.
Right, and the one on the left would be for the ongoing rest of the new term.
And that would be a good time to point that out, that there are two ballot items regarding the position. One is a partial term from November, when the election is certified, to December 31st, 2020, and then the other is a full term beginning in January 2021.
All right, let's move on to the Republican side. On this one, we got looks kind of like a runaway here. We've got Mike Cole with 47,000 votes, and we've got Jeffrey Nutt with 16,000.
Okay, and then on the right side, Mike has 46,330, and then Jeffrey Nutt has 17,122.
So that's kind of a runaway race right there at this point, unless there's a miracle happens. It looks like Mike and Mike. We got two Mikes.
A Mike and a Jeff there, yep. Okay, so then now we go on to the prosecuting attorney, Republican Len Goetz, Democrat Jessica R. Cooper, and Karen McDonald. And just to give some facts about that, it's a 4-year term. Jessica R. Cooper is the incumbent. She was first elected in 2009. And then you want to give a...
Yeah, it looks like we've got another situation here. We've got the incumbent. Currently, Jessica Cooper has 28,000 votes, and we've got Karen McDonald kind of running away with that one at 55,000, which is kind of interesting. That's on the Democratic side. And on the Republican side, looks like we've got, well, we only got one candidate on that side anyway. So it looks to me like we've got a interesting runaway on one side anyway.
Right, and as you said, the precincts reporting are 106 out of 506, so they still have some time to get more votes in.
Yep. This is another interesting race. We've got 3 Democrats running up against our good friend Mike Bouchard. And Bouchard is the incumbent, obviously, and is also well known around the country. We've got Bouchard on the Republican side with 66,000 votes. On the Democratic side, it's kind of interesting. We've got 33,000 for Vincent Gregory, 29,000 for Barnett Jones, and 12,000 for Randy Mulloway. So again, it looks like overall the Democrats have more votes, but Bouchard is the incumbent, and I think in the general he's going to be a little tough to beat.
Okay. And just to give more fun facts about that, it is a 4-year term. Michael Bouchard is the incumbent. He was appointed to the position in 1999 and has been reelected 4 times. So,
yeah,
as you said, he's taken the lead so far.
Yeah, he's a good guy. All right, Clerk and Register of Deeds. Lisa Brown's the incumbent, obviously a Democrat, and we've got 2 people running up against her, Tina Barton and Patrick Wilson. Let's see what the numbers look like here.
Okay, so Lisa Brown has 78,986 votes.
Wow, okay, that's a big number. However, on the Republican side, Tina Barton has 37,000 and Patrick Wilson has 23,000. So right now, Lisa Brown looks pretty strong, but we'll see in the general what happens when we take those other 2 numbers and combine them together for a Republican vote. So that'll be an interesting race.
Agreed. Okay, and then now we go on to the Oakland County Treasurer. We have Republicans Susan E. Anderson and Joe Kent. And then we have Democrat Robert J. Corbett Jr. and Robert Wittenberg. Okay, so
Okay,
as
on
far
the-
as the numbers?
Yeah, on the Democratic side, Corbett has 25,000 and Wittenberg has 51,000. On the Republican side, we've got Anderson with 27,000 and Kent with 33,000. 33,000? Or is that 38? I can't see.
33.
33.
Yeah, you're okay. And then Andy Meisner right now is the current treasurer, but as we all know, he's running for county executive in this year's election. So once again, this is 106 out of 506 reporting, so pretty decent numbers so far.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the Water Resources Commissioner, Republican Robert E. Buxbaum, Stephen L. Johnson, and Jim Stevens. And then on the Democrat side, we have Jim Nash, who's an incumbent.
All right, it looks like we've got Jim Nash with 76,000. Wow, that's a big number. And on the Republican side, we've got 17,000 for
Robert Buxbaum.
Buxbaum, and Johnson has 17,000, and Jim Stevens has 22,000. I'm going to let you read the numbers. I can't see them very well.
For Jim Stevens, 22,567, and Jim Nash was first elected into that position back in 2012. The Water Resources Commissioner develops and maintains designated surface water drainage systems in Oakland County, because as you can see, this is also an important race here.
Okay, on the county commissioner, we've got our good friend Michael Gingell here from Lake Orion running against Michael Bryant.
Okay, and then for the numbers, Michelle Bryant has 1,657 votes, and on the Republican side, he has 3,255. So it looks like as if he's a bit ahead. He was also first elected in 2006, so he's been in that office
He's been in office quite a while, yeah. Mm-hmm. I know he's also the chairman of the board there, the chairman of the commissioners there for a while.
Okay.
On the Sixth Circuit Court, we have candidates. This is a non-political spot, supposedly. We got Clarence Doss, Maria Battersby Murphy, and Lori Saven.
Okay, so Clarence has 37,746. Maura Battersby Murphy has 23,923, and then Lori Saven has 36,327. So we're just going to take a look on the left side there. And that is the Sixth Circuit Court non-incumbent position.
Okay.
Okay, so as you can see, they're running unopposed. So the Orion Township Supervisor, Republican Chris Barnett, with no candidates in the ballot for Democrats.
Township Clerk Penny Schultz, again, running unopposed.
Okay. And the Orion Township Treasurer is Republican Donnie Steele. There are no candidates on the ballot for Democrats.
This is the interesting one here. We've got the Orion Township Trustees. We've got Brian Burney, Julia Dalrymple, I'm sorry, Mike Flood, Marie Monaco, and Kimberly Urbanowski.
Okay.
On the Democratic side, we have Cheyenne Dower and Aline Knowlton.
Okay, so Cheyenne Dwyer and Eileen Knowlton, and there are only 4 trustee seats that are open. The current incumbents are Brian Burney, Julia Dalrymple, and Michael Flood Jr.
Okay, so we're going to start with the numbers on the right column, and then we'll have to scroll down to the
Okay, so we're going to start with Cheyenne Dwyer, trustee, Orion Township. She has 632 votes. Wow, it's a close call between Eileen Knowlton. She has 652.
Wow, that is close. That's real close.
And then we have Brian Burney with 1,600 votes, Julia Dalrymple with 1,254, Michael Flood Jr., 1,468. And you want to take Marie Monaco?
Marie Monaco with 1,120, and Kimberly Urbanowski at 1,265.
Okay.
Go ahead and read the slide, guys.
All right, so we do have the delegate to county convention, Republican Matthew Gibb and Ron Porter versus Democrat Timothy Wilson. And so couple of,
We actually don't have the results.
okay, so we're just waiting on a few
Yeah,
results there.
no
But
results
so
yet on
far,
that
so
one.
good with all the others
Yeah.
coming in.
I think the results are coming in really quickly.
Go ahead and toss it to the proposals video.
Okay, so before we check out more results, we're going to take a look at the proposed township millages. Let's take a look at that video, which will explain what they're asking for.
During the August 4th, 2020 primary election, Orion Township residents were asked to vote on two township millage proposals. For the first ballot measure, Orion Township proposed a police operating millage. If passed, this millage would authorize a levy of up to 3.5 mils for a period of 6 years, starting in December 2020 and ending in December 2025. The purpose of this millage is to continue to provide police services in Orion Township. In 2016, Township voters approved a millage for the stated purposes in the amount of 3.0 mils. The 2016 millage expired in 2019. Approval of this millage would allow the Township to levy up to 3.5 mils as a new additional millage to provide police services. This would include all operations, wages, benefits, housing, and capital expenditures. The millage will be assessed on all taxable property within the township, except and excluding all taxable property within the village of Lake Orion. This proposal would allow a tax limitation increase and an approximate annual levy of $3.50 per $1,000 of the taxable value of all taxable property. It is estimated that this proposal will result in the authorization to collect in its first year $6,135,467.70. A property with a taxable value of $100,000 would be taxed up to $350 for the millage. For the final ballot measure, Orion Township proposed a fire and emergency services operating millage. This millage is a proposal to authorize a levy of up to 3.0 mils on all taxable property within the township and the village of Lake Orion for a period of 6 years, starting in December 2020 and ending in December 2025. The purpose of this millage is to fund fire protection and emergency medical services, including advanced life support and all related operations, wages, benefits, and capital expenditures. Approval of this proposal will allow a tax limitation increase and approximate levy of $3 per $1,000 of taxable value on all taxable property within the township and the village of Lake Orion. It is estimated that the proposal would result in the authorization to collect approximately $5,696,466.81 in the first year if approved and levied. A portion of this will be distributed to the Village of Lake Orion Downtown Development Authority. A property with a taxable value of $100,000 will be taxed up to $300 for the millage.
Hey, we're back.
We are. So it looks like as if, I think at this point, this would be a great time to maybe check the proposal results to see how we're doing with that.
It'd be interesting to see what the results are. Oh, we got,
Okay, so we have fire and emergency medical services operating millage. Yes, 2,214 votes, and then no's would be 1,388. So it's up ahead.
That's pretty good. And it looks like we got about the same percentage there for the police. We got 1,960 for the police, and we got 1,336 against it. So that looks like a go as well. And I think Chris Barnett talked about that when he actually had his live conversation. It looked pretty good, like for both of those proposals.
Right. And again, if people want more in-depth information, they can always go to YouTube and take a look at those, because those were really detailed interviews.
Yeah, I mean, as we go along through the evening, if you want to get better numbers or more up-to-date numbers, you can actually go to the county website. The county website has to all of the numbers that you can look at and determine where you are if you're a candidate.
Right. Well, it was certainly fun doing this with you.
Oh, this has been great.
This is our thing. So
we get together once every election, right, Stacey?
That's right. So that's the next time we'll see each other. So that'll do it for ONTV's primary election 2020 result coverage. We may, take a look at a couple of results, and you mentioned that they can go to a certain website so they can look at it.
Yeah, the county has a great website that you can go on and see all the results. And matter of fact, you probably get all the results on the TV in the morning. But I think the county site is even better, because you can go and look at your individual community.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the hardworking staff here at ONTV, we certainly want to thank you for watching this coverage, and thank you again, George, for hosting with me. It's always an honor.
Hey, it's an honor to be with you, Stacey. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks again for watching. See you next time.